I want to bring in now Representative Shontel Brown from Ohio, who can talk to us a little bit more about what's going on in her state and what it portends for the rest of the country. Representative Brown, thanks for joining me tonight. Let me first get your reaction to what's gone down in your state. It looks like voters are voting yes on enshrining the right to reproductive choice in the state's constitution.
Yes, well, thank you for having me, and I would be remiss if I did not thank the voters and the volunteers who worked tirelessly to make sure that people understood what Issue 1 was all about, the importance of voting yes on Issue 1. As you stated, this ends the extreme abortion ban that had no exceptions for rape or incest. It also gives doctors the freedom and flexibility to give miscarriage care for emergency care for miscarriages and access to contraceptives like birth control pills. So I could not be more proud and excited about the results that have come in, and I want to thank again the voters and the volunteers who worked to make this possible.
I do want to ask you about the sort of attempts by Republicans to make sure this didn't pass. There was this sort of chicanery between ballot issue 1 that happened in August, where supporters of abortion rights were encouraged to vote no. And then there was another ballot issue 1, of course, tonight, where supporters of reproductive freedom were encouraged to vote yes. There was the purging of, I believe, 26,000 voters in late September from the voter registration rolls, which is very tightly up against the voter registration deadline, which some folks were worried about would discourage people from going to the polls or prevent them from going to the polls. There was the language on the ballot itself, which framed this as a choice around late-term abortion and referred to the fetus as an unborn child. Those efforts did not seem to have deterred the voters of Ohio from making this a constitutional right for the state. What did you make of them as they were unfolding?
Well, I think people heard the message loud and clear. Messaging still matters. Issues are important, and they made their voices known that the power still belongs to the people. What we were telling people as it relates to Issue 1 is that it would allow them to make their own health care decisions without the interference of government or fear of being criminalized. That is the bottom line, and that abortion care is health care. So as you can see, just like in August, where there was a lot of confusion, this was I deemed it as the undercard or the first step in a two-step dance, but tonight was the main event, and people were prepared. We started sending the message out in August that you would vote no in August and yes in November, and so people were paying attention, and again, couldn't be more proud of the voters. So despite Republicans' efforts to continue to try to take away our freedoms, suppress, suffocate, and deny our voices at the ballot box, the people continue to show up and show out in Ohio. And I couldn't be more proud again, because so often, so goes Ohio, so goes the nation. And what we know in Cleveland, which is the part of the district that I represent, nothing is given, everything is earned. So we knew going into this race that it was going to be a difficult fight, but we worked incredibly hard and and we were able to deliver incredible results tonight.
What's your message to national Democrats who may be feeling a bit on their heels with this recent polling that came out in the New York Times earlier this week about President Biden's chances in 2024 and his numbers vis-a-vis a head-to-head matchup with Donald Trump in 2024? I mean, what advice do you give worried Democrats at this hour?
Well, there's another saying in politics, there's only two ways to run, and that's unopposed or scared, and those numbers were actually very frightening. So listen, again, we know that this is not going to be an easy fight. We are ready to roll up our sleeves and work hard, but I would remind the voters that polling is just a snapshot in time, and the polls don't vote. And as we know, when it comes to polling, specifically with President Joe Biden, they've never proven to be favorable for him, but he's always shown when people count him out that they don't know how to count.
Democratic Congresswoman Shontel Brown, thank you for making the time. Congratulations on the win tonight.